we are in the second sarga of Balakanda. Second, so like I've said in the previous session that the next three sargas, that is second, third, and fourth sargas, Valmiki is presenting the uniqueness of the speaker, which is he himself here, the uniqueness of the subject matter, and then the uniqueness of the way the subject matter is presented. Why is he doing this? So that people who want to take what Valmiki has to offer will take it. So this is some kind of in the olden days they used to have Anubandha Chatushtayam. So we have seen that Anubandha Chatushtayam, the first sarga itself. But this is one way of showing I have something to offer. So if you are interested, you can take. See, in Vedanta, usually we say who is saying something is not important. So that is how we generally look at look at shastras in our what should I say, in our culture. That it is not Vaktra Pradhana. Who is saying it is not so relevant. So what is being said is relevant. Uh, in the sense that if a good thing is being said, there are shlokas like that, I don't remember, but if a good thing is being said by anybody, it has to be taken. And so you examine the statement independent of who's saying it. So that is one way of looking at it. But here, this being a Kavya Shastra, this being a Kavya Shastra, it can have other indulgences also which the poet makes. So because it's Kavya Shastra, it's better to look at who is saying it, and therefore you can take it in that way, that who is saying is also important here. So we have just recited the 15th verse. Like I said in the last session, this is one of the important verses of the entire Ramayana. You can pick such verses and see that commentators have written great commentaries on just one verse. And like I said, this verse alone, 15th verse alone, has about nine sections of commentaries. Like, so each page has two parts, two columns, so 9 columns of commentary, 9 or 8 columns of commentary on just this verse, and we will be just seeing what Tilakakara has to say on the verse. Um, so just let me say the verse. Ma nishada pratishtham tvam agama shashwati samah yat krauncha mithunadekam avadhi kamamohitam. So I will give you a gist of all the views, and then I will tell you also something that appeals to me, and then you can choose what you want to take from this verse itself. Before this, the story so far has happened that Valmiki goes to Tamasa Nadi to have his afternoon bath. So how do we know it's afternoon? It comes in the next shloka. So to have his afternoon bath, he goes to Tamasa Nadi, and then while he is looking at that place, I mean, looking around where he can do japa after the bath, while he is looking around, then he sees that a hunter comes suddenly out of nowhere perhaps, and then he shoots an arrow at the male bird of a what should I say, a group of two or a couple of crowncha birds. So there's a couple of crowncha birds, and then this Nishada hunter comes out of nowhere and shoots an arrow at the male bird, and then the male bird is dripping with blood. It falls on the ground and dies, and then the female bird feels sad about it, of course, and then it's crying in pain and at the loss. And then Valmiki sees this, and he's moved by the entire event, and then he utters this impromptu. He doesn't even think about it, perhaps it just comes out. So what does he say? Ma nishada pratishtham tvam agama shashwati samaha yat krauncha mithunadekam avadhi kamamohitam. The simple meaning of this is, it looks like he is cursing at the hunter. So what is he saying? Ma nishada pratishtham tvam agamaha. So nishada is hunter. So ma nishada pratishtham tvam agamaha is, oh hunter, may you not gain fame, something like that. So pratishtha is fame, or you can also say that may you not get any other chance again to come back to this forest, something like that. Ma nishada pratishtham tvam agamaha. Tvam agamaha means may you not gain, may you not attain fame. Shashwati Samaha. And what kind of fame may you not attain? That fame which lasts for long. So may you not gain fame or sthiti in the forest for a long time. Because why am I saying this? Yat krauncha mithunadekam avadhi kamamohitam. So krauncha mithunadekam avadhi, because of those two krauncha birds, that couple, you have killed one. And at what time have you killed? You have killed it at a time when they are engaged in love. So at that intimate movement, you have killed the male bird. So that is what Valmiki is saying. I mean externally, as in fact, that is what Valmiki means also. mind you that he doesn't say, he doesn't tell the hunter you die. He's not saying like that. He said may you not live long, something like that, or may you not get fame for a long time, or you can say may you not get another chance to come back to this forest. So something like that he's telling. That also shows Valmiki's sensitivity. So he's a very sensitive person, which is why he could write this kavya like Ramayana. So he's not saying just go and die, how can you do like this. So he's not so angry also, even at this very moving side. What he's just saying is, I mean, what he intends to say is, you have done such a cruel thing. I hope you did not do like this. This is what is his intention actually. And then he's putting, of course he's telling may you not get fame, but he's not, at the same time you should note on the contrary that he's not saying, so contrast with what he could have said, he could have immediately said just go and die. So he's not saying something like that. So this is the apparent meaning of the simple meaning of this verse. In fact, this is the meaning that appeals to me also, because you can construct so many meanings beyond the behind this verse, but it has to fit into the context of the subsequent verses. So maybe it doesn't fit. So these people give a lot of vyakyas for this one verse, and such vyakyas, such anvayas, interpretations of these of such kind are called duranvaya. You are stretching too much meaning, or extracting too much meaning out of a verse, that it looks like that. So for example, Shiromani Kara, he first explains this in the way that I have explained just now, that he's cursing the hunter, and then he explains the entire verse 7 times. So each time he's saying, he's interpreting it for each kanda. So he's telling, Valmiki is giving the essence of the entire kanda, entire Ramayana in this one verse. And then Govinda Raja interprets this one shloka to have the contents of the all kandas. I mean, Ma Nishada means, Ma means Lakshmi Devi. Ma Nishada means he in whom Lakshmi Devi stays, that is Srinivasa. So by that he's telling Balakanda story of Sita Rama wedding. And then Pratishtham to Magamaha means, for the sake of your father's word, for that Pratishtha you went. You went means where? You went to the forest. So like this he says, he interprets this one verse, and then the second line he interprets it thrice. So to bring out the story of Kishkinda Kanda, Sundara Kanda, and Yuddha Kanda, and one more time for Uttarakanda. So I mean, they do this kind of interpretation, and then Shiromani Kara goes, I mean, 10 steps ahead perhaps, and then he interprets the same verse 7 times, each time for each kanda. This and then Tilakakara also has some vyakyas to do. All these, it sounds to me, in my humble opinion, that these are all duranvayas. I mean, you are assuming a lot of things, and then you are interpreting it this way. But by the mere turn of events that happen after this, you can see in this sarga itself that perhaps Valmiki didn't mean so much. What he just meant was, he was moved by the sight of the hunter, and he uttered these words. So that is what appeals to me. Anyway, I said I will tell that in the end, but anyway, I told it now. So Tilakakara has some interesting observations to make. So first he gives the opinion of Tirthakara. So there are many Vyakyakaras even before Tilakakara, which he often quotes. So one is Tirtha, so Maheshwara Tirtha, I think. So he, and then Kataka Vyakya was there. So I don't remember who's the author of Kataka Vyakya. So Kataka Vyakya also he quotes. So generally scholars, at least Advaita Vedantins, take Maheshwara and Tilaka Vyakyas as standard. I don't have a copy of Maheshwara Vyakya. So anyway, I am referring to Tilaka. And in Tilaka, first he quotes what the explanation of Tirthakara. So Tilakakara doesn't even give this explanation that I told so far. He just said that Vyakya that interpretation is very simple to take. So I'm not explaining on it. Which Vyakya? The Vyakya that this is a curse on the hunter. So that is a simple explanation. I'm not going to it, he says. And then he gives the opinion of Tirtha, and then Katakakara. So how they interpret is, Tirthakara interprets it as, this shloka is extolling Rama is this shloka, he says. And Katakakara says, see, I mean, so I don't know. So Katakakara says this is a curse on Ravana. I mean, how can you make such opposite interpretations from the same shloka? That is the power of a kavi. He can say things, and he can by one statement he can mean many things. Anyway, so Tirthakara has this to say. This Ma Nishada, like I said, Ma means Lakshmi Devi. So we have something called Ekakshara Kosha, something like that. So single syllable words can mean many things. So there is a dictionary, a kosha, where this meanings are given for the single syllable word. So Ma means Lakshmi. So how do you know? So of course they give some pramanas to that. I have an experience of while in my previous, what should I say, before this economics in that CA avatar, I should say. So we used to apply for PAN for some of our customers, and then we used to have, I had this experience of applying for PAN for some people from Thailand, and they have these names, which are just one letter or two letters. And then when you go and apply for the PAN, he will verify, he has a list of what names with two letters are allowed. So you can't say XY and then say this is my first name or middle name. The internationally, out of all names that are existing, there are certain one letter, two letter words which are acceptable, and he has a list. He will verify with that list and only then approve your application, something like that. So this one letter syllables also, in our literature, Sanskrit literature, you have this kosha, you have a way of explaining these things. Okay, and this comes from, even from Vedic mantras, you can make out these meanings. Anyway, Ma Nishada is a Sambodhana. He's addressing that Nishada. So mind you, this he's calling the Nishada the person who has killed the Krauncha birds, the male Krauncha bird. He's addressing him as Ma Nishada. That means he's looking upon him as Srinivasa. So Ma Nishada Pratishtham Tvam Agamaha. So Ma actually means don't. I mean, the way I explained it first, it means don't get Pratishtha, don't get fame. But Ma, once you make it as Lakshmi, so now Pratistham Agamaha doesn't have a, what should I say, negation. So Ma Nishada, Hey Srinivasa, so Pratistham Tvam Agamaha, may you attain fame. Shashwati Samaha, for so many years. I mean, may your fame be so long that it goes on forever, for many, many years. Samaha means years and Shashwati means forever. So for long time, let your fame be continuing. Why should you get that fame? Because yat krauncha mithunadekam avadhihi. So that because you killed the male of a couple, and who's that couple? So Ravana and Mandodari. So out of this Ravana and Mandodari, this couple, this bird-like Krauncha bird-like couple, because you have killed one. And why did you kill him? Because he was causing a lot of trouble to the world. He was causing trouble to rishis, munis, and all of them. And by your killing him, you have established dharma. Therefore, for this reason, may you attain fame for a long time. Yat krauncha mithunadekam avadhihi kamamohitam. And which of the two in the couple did you kill? You killed that one who was overpowered by kama, which is here lust, in the sense that Ravana was somebody who had this kama vesha in him always. Such a one among the couple, that means the male bird, which is Ravana, you have killed. Therefore, may you attain great fame, is what Tirthakara is interpreting the shloka as. Now, Katakakara has another explanation to say. He's saying this is for Ravana. So Valmiki has Ravana in his mind and he said this shloka, or Valmiki had Rama in his mind and said this shloka. And why did he have Rama or Ravana in his mind while he was looking at that hunter? Because the story of Rama, which he just heard from Narada, is so deeply roaming in his thoughts that he's just thinking of those things wherever he goes. So that story is just in his mind fresh. So this was a nimitta. I mean, the hunter killing the bird was an excuse for him to, what should I say out these words. And then what came out when he said this? The very thoughts that were going on in his mind came out. And what were those thoughts? Those thoughts were nothing but the story of Rama. So I hope I was clear in what I'm trying to say. Is because his mind was so occupied with the story of Rama that he just heard from Narada, he is looking upon everything as Rama's story. Therefore, Tirthakara is telling Rama was in his thoughts, and therefore he said this. And Katakakara is telling Ravana was in his thoughts, and therefore he's telling it. Why Ravana? How Ravana? So Nishada is here. Nitaram Sadevarshiganam Trilokyam Sadayati Pidayati iti Nishadaha. So Nishada here means one who is troubling all the devatas and rishis and all of them, and that is Ravana. And then Ma again becomes a negative for Pratishtha Magamaha. Hey Nishada, hey Ravana, one who is causing trouble to all the worlds, three worlds, may you not get fame. Why you should not get fame? Because again, Yat Krauncha Mithunadekam Avadhi Kamamohitam. Here Krauncha Mithuna, the couple of Krauncha birds, is Rama and Sita. And then Krauncha, here you can give an additional explanation from the Dhatu. So Krung. Krung is Kautilya Alpi Bhavayoho is the meaning of the Dhatu Krung. So for that means something that has become small. I mean, something that has shrunk. So Rama and Sita were already shrunk by the dukkha of the Vanavasa. Such shrunk couple Out of them, one you have Avadhi. Avadhi means killed, and killed here is one. So here it means that he has taken Sita Devi away, and then he has caused so much trouble to her, and that is as though as good as killing her. Such pida you have given to Sita Devi. Therefore, may you not get, what should I say, fame forever. Um, yeah, that is what he's telling. Now Tilakakara comes and says both of these meanings are not good. It's not correct, and he gives some reasons for it. I will come to it, and then he gives his own explanation. So you can see in Valmiki Ramayana that these two explanations are actually given, and then the explanation of all the seven sargas coming in one shloka is given. That is from Govinda Raja. And Shiromani Kara, like I said, explains the same verse 7 times, saying this. He said it 7 times because the entire story he had in his mind, and you can interpret the same verse 7 times to mean seven kandas. Anyway, he has this issues to pick up with these interpretations. So I'm giving you a flavor of these vyakhyas. Frankly, if you ask me, what is convenient to me is to give the meaning of the nishada, I mean the hunter, but then I'm giving you a flavor of this vyakhya because it's a nice verse. You will find some verses, like I said, in the Ramayana where vyakhya have a lot to write. It's good to see what they have written. So he's telling, first he picks up issue with this Ravana interpretation of the shloka, and he says, see, Ravana has already been killed. So now how can you say, may you not live for long? Pratishtham tvamagama ma pratishtham tvamagama shashwati samaha. May you not live long. How can you say like that to Ravana who has already died? So it makes no sense first. And then with Tirthakara's Vyakhya, he has a issue to pick up, which is to say that so Tirthakara makes this Vyakhya that this shloka is intended towards Rama, because he says, Valmiki is writing Ramayana story, and then it's good practice that in the beginning, so what is it called in Mangala Charana? This is called Vastu Nirdeshatmaka Mangala Charana he is doing. So such kind of meaning he gives and says, therefore I'm interpreting it as Rama story. But Tilakakara says, but when Valmiki uttered this shloka, he did not yet decide that he is going to write Ramayana. This decision comes later. After this, he has his bath, he goes back to his ashrama, and then he's worried, and then Brahma comes, and then Brahma instructs him to write Ramayana, and that's how he takes up the idea of writing Ramayana. So before writing Ramayana, he said this. Before even deciding to write Ramayana, he said this verse. He said these words, which took the form of a verse. So why should he have said it? Because he didn't yet decide that he's going to write Ramayana. Therefore, there is no need to invoke that Mangala Charanam is done here. Vastu Nirdeshatmaka Mangala Charanam is done here. And then perhaps you might say, and then he says later, Kimidam Vyahritam Maya, that comes later. So after saying this, Valmiki thinks, what did I say? Ayo, I shouldn't have said it. What did I say? In that sense, he says, what did I say? I mean, what did I end up saying? Something like that. He repents later. So if you say that he wanted to tell Rama's story as Vastu Nirdeshatmaka Mangala Charanam for the shloka, then he would not have repented it later, in the sense that, ayo, what did I say? He wouldn't have said it if he wanted to tell Rama's story, So that is not possible. So then we have this something called Ekadeshi. I mean, for this, a possible answer can be given to this question of how can he say, what did I say, when he was intending to give a Vastu Nirdeshatmaka Mangala Charana. A possible answer can be given that what did I say means, did I say a shloka or did I say a gadya? That doubt. So that also is not a tenable answer, because Valmiki doesn't get a doubt of whether this is a shloka, because he's already used to Anushtup as a meter in the Vedas was there. So he has no doubt, did I say a shloka or did I say a gadya? Such kind of doubt can't exist. So what did I say cannot mean did I say a shloka or did I say a gadya? And then it cannot also, because he said what did I say, in that sense he said it. So therefore you cannot say that he made a Vastu Nirdeshatmaka Mangala Charana, as in this does not mean he's saying. So in Sri Vaishnavas they have this concept of doing Mangala Shasana to Bhagavan. So even to Bhagavan they say something like, they say something like blessings to God, something like that, out of love. So such a thing also you cannot make. So he picks up issues with these two vyakhyas, and then he gives his own vyakhya. There is a reason why I dwelt on these vyakhyas, which is that because in valmikiramayana.net these two vyakhyas are given. It is a nice explanation. But then after refuting these vyakhyas so much, he gives a vyakhya. What kind of explanation he gives after listening to that, you might feel that perhaps those two vyakyas were better. So he gives a convex combination of these two. So what was these two? The first explanation was it was a curse on Ravana, or the second explanation was, or rather the first explanation was, it is a description of Rama, and the second explanation of Katakakara was it was a curse on Ravana. And what does he make? He makes it curse on Rama itself. So Valmiki is cursing Rama by this shloka. That's the meaning he ends up giving after refuting all these Vyakyas. So and then he is supposed, so I will come to it, how does he say that, and then he himself raises this question in between the Vyakhya, saying maybe you will ask me, how are you saying that this is a curse on Rama itself? So he says, by looking at the Muni's words, so the Swarasyam of Muni's words, the subtle meanings of the Muni's words I kept in my mind, and I'm saying this. And if you have any doubt, so he says this very strongly, tatra sandehaschet swantaryaminam pruchha. If you have a doubt in my explanation, go and ask the Antaryami who's sitting in your heart, he's telling. So, I mean, anyway, so he gives such an explanation. And what explanation he gives? Like I said, this verse, through this verse, Valmiki is cursing Rama. And poor Rama, why did he have to curse? So for that, there is a story. This story is there in all the Puranas, and he quotes those Puranic things in his explanation. I don't know how much I will go into those. Maybe if there's inspiration, I will read out those verses also to you. So the story is, after Valmiki hears this story of Rama from Narada, then he's thinking in his mind already that this story of Rama is so beautiful, it teaches dharma, and then perhaps I should take it up. Such thoughts are already coming in his mind. And by then Rama, who's ruling the kingdom, who's ruling the earth, he's sitting in Ayodhya, that Rama knew, I mean, he's Bhagwan, so he came to know that this person Valmiki has decided to write my story. So let me test if this person has enough, what should I say, Karunardra Hridaya. So my story, this story is having Shoka as the Pradhana Rasa. Shoka is the primary rasa in this Kavya. So to write a story which is filled with Shoka, he himself should have a heart which is able to respond, or which is sensitive to events, and which is itself able to express Shoka, Karuna and things like that. Because Shoka and Karuna are interrelated, I told you. So for Karuna Rasa, sorry, maybe I said Shoka Rasa, but Karuna Rasa is the primary rasa of Ramayana, and Shoka is the Sthai Bhava. So Shoka and Karuna should be, together in that sense, because one is the Sthai Bhava, Shoka is the Sthai Bhava for Karuna Rasa. So Rama wanted to test how much Karuna Valmiki has in his own mind before writing a Kavya which is Karuna Rasa Pradhana. Therefore, he takes the form of a hunter and kills one of those birds. And why should he kill one of those birds? This Nishada, in the form of a, what should I say, in the form of a hunter. Why should Rama suddenly come and kill one of those two birds? Because he himself says in Aranyakanda later, anyway, I will come to that later. But why should Rama kill one of those birds without any reason? Then for that, again, they quote some Purana and say, actually, that bird was an Asura, which is roaming in the form of two birds. And Rama did two purposes now by this act of shooting an arrow at that bird. He achieved two purposes. One is he put an end to that Asura who's roaming in the form of a bird. And then he also tested Valmiki's Karuna. So in that sense, like I said already, that these are all Duranvayas. You're giving too much meaning for these words, but then that's how he interprets it. So how does he interpret here? Again, Ma Nishada is, so the abode of Lakshmi, which is Sita Devi here. So hey Rama here, Ma Nishada, then you should not have a gap, And so if you're having Ma and space and Nishada, that means Ma is used in the sense of negative. But then when you are saying as Lakshmi, Ma as Lakshmi, then you should not have gap between Ma and Nishada. So Ma Nishada should be one word. So Ma Nishada means the abode of Lakshmi, Ma. So Hey Srinivasa, Pratishtham Tvamagama Shashwati Samaha. So he gives a nice way of explaining that. Shashwati Samaha Ayushesha Bhutani Bahuni Varshani Pratishtham Swastri Sahityena Sthitam Ihaloke Magamo Ma Prapnuhi. So Nishada here is, he's addressing Rama. So again, Ma is for the negative. Nishada is Hey Rama. Again, Nishada he explains as Rama anyway. So Hey Rama, may you not live for long with your wife. So why should you not live for long with your wife? Because you have killed one of these two. You have killed the male bird here, and the female experiences separation from the male bird. Therefore, may you also experience a separation from your own wife. So he says, Shashwati samaha ma pratishtha magamaha. May you not live long along with your wife. So how long should you not live long with your wife? So he says as long as so so he explains that somewhere, but so you should live along with your wife only as long as you I don't know how to put it, um, you you spend only I mean, I don't know how to put it in English without making it look so explicit. I mean, what he's telling is, may you live only as long as you are able to have one intercourse with your wife, not more than that. You can spend only one night, let's say, with your wife, and not more than that. Not more than that may you live with your wife. So after Rama and Sita spend a night together, then may you get separated. So that's the kind of curse that Valmiki is giving to him, he says. And what is the reason for all this kind of anvaya, of all this kind of meaning he's giving? So like I said, if you ask him why are you giving such a meaning, he will say go and ask your antaryami. And then but then he still goes on to explain, nan vidrusho arthas tvaya kena manena nirnitam iti chet tachrunu rishyakshara swarasyat. Like I said, because keeping the rishis words in mind, I have told all this, and that becomes clear later. So taduktam padme शिव शिवा संवादे रामवैभव वर्णने चतुर्विंशत्यध्याये. So in Padma Purana there is a discussion between Shiva and Shiva, that is Shiva and Parvati. There is a discussion in that they are glorifying the Mahatmya of Rama. In that Shiva is telling in that Padma Purana चतुर्विंशे अध्याये ततो जानपदः कश्चित् पामरः काष्ठविक्रयी स्ववधू गर्हणद्वारा रावणस्य गृहोषितां गर्हयामास वैदेहीं दुर्वृत्तं लोकनिन्दकः तच्छ्रुत्वा देवीचारेभ्यो भीतो लोकापवादतः आहूय लक्ष्मणं प्राह रामो राजीवलोचनः शृणु मे वचनं गुह्यं सीतासन्त्यागकारणं वाल्मीकिनाथ भृगुणा शप्तोऽस्मि किल लक्ष्मण तस्मादेनां त्यजाम्यद्य जनो नैवात्र कारणम्. So how are you able to give this kind of explanation that Valmiki cursed Rama? So he's quoting Padma Purana, and Padma Purana Shiva is telling Parvati Rama's greatness, and in that he gives this kind of a story. It seems after Sita has been let's say abandoned, it's even difficult for me to say such words. Sita is abandoned by Rama. So these stories, if you ask me, the story of Uttarakanda is not there. But anyway, after Sita has been abandoned by Rama in the forest, he calls Lakshmana and says, and before saying all this, Shiva gives an account to Parvati Devi and says that a person in the kingdom of Ayodhya, he doubts his own wife, and then by calling his wife names, through that he calls even Rama names, saying that Rama has accepted somebody who's living in somebody else's house, and that to a Rakshasa's house for some months she has lived, and such a person he has taken back as his wife. So he says such things, and Rama comes to know this words of that person through his spies, and then Rama decides to give up. This is the external story. But Parvati, you don't know what happened behind. Why Rama did like this is not because that stupid some person said it. So that's exactly what he's telling here. That stupid person said something that doesn't matter to Rama. But then Valmiki has cursed Rama. Therefore, Rama abandoned Sita. I mean, like I said, these are all Duranvayas. I mean, you have decided on some meaning and giving interlinking things. So when Rama went to test, so by Rama's own prerana, Valmiki cursed Rama that you separate with your wife, and now because Valmiki cursed him, he has to make that wish of Valmiki come true. Therefore, he is abandoning Sita. He says this to Lakshmana, that therefore I am abandoning Sita, and not because some idiot said something. So by these words of Shiva, you come to know that Rama knew that Valmiki cursed him. This kind of understanding is there, and on that bala, I am giving this explanation that Valmiki cursed Rama. And then there's a story of Bhrigu also. Bhrigu already cursed Rama somewhere else. There is a story in some Purana saying that all the Rakshasas went to Bhrigu's wife and asked for shelter. Vishnu is going to kill, Devatas are going to kill us, you should protect us. So Bhrigu's wife will say, okay, don't worry, I will give you shelter. and then Devatas will go and tell Vishnu that Bhrugu's wife is protecting the Asuras, and how will we kill them? So Vishnu goes and kills, I think, so if I remember the story correctly, goes and kills Bhrugu's wife, and then Bhrugu curses him. You know, you killed my wife, so may you, and then you caused a separation between us, so may you also be separated with your wife. So he curses like that. So he has to make true the curse of Bhrugu, and then as though that curse was not enough, he wanted that curse to be made stronger. Therefore, when he appeared as the hunter in front of Valmiki, by his own wish as the Antaryami, all this the Tilakakara is telling, I'm putting in my words, by his own wish he makes Valmiki say such things as I am cursing you. So now by Bhrugu's curse, which is strengthened by Valmiki's curse, I am abandoning Sita. This is what he tells Lakshmana. And then, I mean, I can go on. He gives so many Purana instances to that. Then Vrinda Devi curses Vishnu. There are stories like that. And then there is, to make things even more worse, even Sanat Kumara or somebody. Sanat Kumara also curses Vishnu. It seems Sanat Kumara, all these people were there in Brahmaloka, and then Vishnu comes from Vaikuntha. Everybody gets up and does puja, but the Sanat Kumara does not get up. And then Vishnu curses Sanat Kumara. When I came, you didn't do puja for me by getting up. May you be born in as a human, something like that. And then Sanat Kumara curses back. May you be separated with your wife. And therefore, to make all these things true, Rama has now abandoned Sita. So like this, there are stories, and by this story, Tilakakara is inferring that because this curse thing is there, and so he's interpreting this verse as a curse of Valmiki to Rama. The reason why I went into depths of these vyakhyas is to show that how these vyakhyas are doing Duranvaya. I mean, they are assuming a lot of things and then making an Anvaya. Simply, the verse means a very sensitive heart of Valmiki. It is showing, as in he saw these birds. I mean, they are in that mating time. At that time, somebody killed, what should I say, the male bird. So he's so moved by that situation, and then he also utters a verse of condemnation towards the hunter. But even in that utterance, there is some daya karuna of Valmiki, as in he's not giving him a harsh shapa. He's not saying may you be born as a rakshasa, may you die immediately. He's not saying such things. He's just saying, oh, what cruel task have you done? I mean, may this task not get you enough fame. May you not enjoy fame for long. He's not even telling may you die. So by these words, Valmiki's own karunyam is coming out. That is all that we have to take. So this thing, to end the loose knot. So there is one question that one might ask: even if it was Rama, so why did he kill that bird unnecessarily? So I told you. So that is because this is an asura who is roaming in the forest in the form of bird. So Rama hit two targets by one arrow, which is he tested Valmiki's karunyam, and he shot at that asura also. And this Valmiki also later comes to know, when Brahma gives vara to Valmiki that you will know the entire story of Ramayana as it happened. So when he gets that vara, he knows now later, not in this, when he's uttering the curse, he doesn't know, but later he knows that it was Rama who came, and the bird that got killed is an asura. And that he's telling us in this sarga itself, it seems. Where did he say that? In this sarga already we have seen that shloka. So go back to verse number 10. In that he's calling that Nishada as Vaira Nilaya. Jaghana Vaira Nilayo Nishadas Tasya Pashyataha. Jaghana is he killed. That Nishada is that hunter, and that he's giving an adjective to that hunter by saying Vaira Nilaya. Vaira Nilaya is he's an embodiment of enmity, like we said before. So here he's saying Rama is Vaira Nilaya because all asuras think that Vishnu's against us, therefore he is Vaira Nilaya. Anyway, he says all these kind of explanations. The simple explanation that ought to be given, he just says this is simple, so I'm not giving it. So like I said, this verse just shows Valmiki's karunyam. You don't need to invoke so many assumptions. This is one set of assumptions, and then another set of assumptions is Valmiki said the entire story of Ramayana through this verse. One says in one verse you can in one interpretation you can give all the kandas. Another says the same verse explain it 7 times by giving 7 kandas. All such duranvaya you need not make. Just simply take it as Valmiki's own karunyam. After writing this long Vyakhya, Tilakakara has a nice verse as conclusion for his own Vyakhya on this shloka, because it's a long Vyakhya. I'm assuming it's written by Tilakakara himself, because suddenly out of nowhere he gives an iti, and then after iti for this Vyakhya he writes this shloka. So I'm assuming after writing this long Vyakhya he writes a shloka on Rama. So it's a nice shloka, so I thought I will tell. त्यक्त्वा जीर्णदुकूलवत् वसुमतीं बद्धोऽम्बुधिं बिन्दुवत् बाणाग्रेण जरत्कपोतक इव व्यापादितो रावणः लङ्काकापि विभीषणाय सहसा मुद्रेव हस्तेऽर्पिता श्रुत्वैवं रघुनायकस्य चरितं को वा नरो नाञ्चति. So he writes a very nice shloka. He says, after listening to Rama's story, who doesn't go and worship Rama? Such Rama's story, he says, what kind of story that is? So Tyaktva Jirna Dukulavad Vasumatim. So this entire kingdom of Ayodhya, when his father said go to the forest, he gave it up. And how simply he gave it up? He gave it up as though it was a torn out garment. Jirna Dukulavat Vasumatim Tyaktva, number one. And then Badhombudim Binduvat. So he built a bridge across the ocean. And how did he build the bridge across the ocean? As though that ocean was one drop of water. So simply, I mean, so anayasena. So I don't know how to say. So without any effort, he built the bridge across the ocean. Banagrena jaratkapotaka iva vyapadito ravanaha. So, and then that Ravana has been killed by one arrow, by just one shot of one arrow. He killed Ravana as though he's one worn out old bird. And then Lanka kapi vibhishanaya sahasa mudreva hasterpita. And that great Lanka, Kanchanamayi Lanka, he gave it off to Vibhishana as though it was 1 rupee. So like 1 rupee you give, he gave off Lanka to Vibhishana. Such a Rama Katha having heard, who does not worship Rama? So let us all also worship Rama, that Rama who could do these impossible tasks as though they were nothing. Anyway, so I have explained in some detail the Vyakhya, Tilakakara's Vyakhya on this one shloka, but like I said, let's simply take it as Karuna Rasa of Valmiki coming out through this episode. So, Manishada Pratishtham Tvam Agamas Shashwati Samaha Yat Krauncha Mithunadekam Avadhih Kamamohitam तमेत्थं भ्रुवतश्चिन्ता बभूव हृदि वीक्षतः शोकार्तेनास्य शकुने किमिदं व्याहृतं मया. So there are some patha vedas if you all are following valmikiramana.net and between what I am following, but that's okay. There are some differences in readings, but that's okay. Tasya ittham bruvataha. So Valmiki who has spoken thus, to that Valmiki chinta babhuva. Now he started thinking hridi vikshataha. So in his heart he started, he saw what has happened and then he has said it. Now in his heart suddenly he's worrying. Shokartenasya shakunehe kimidam vyahritam maya. For this bird, Shakuni's bird. So for this bird, for the sake of this bird, there was shoka in my heart, and out of that shoka for this bird, what did I say? So I told you this before. Kimidam vyahritam maya. What did I say? What did I end up saying? So चिंतयन्स महाप्राज्ञश्चकार मतिमान मतिम शिष्यम चैवा ब्रवीद्वाक्यम idam sa munipungavaha. So he's thinking about it, having thought about what he has said and things like that. Chintayan sa mahaprajnaha, that Valmiki of great intellect. So I told you this before also. Sa mahaprajna, saha mahaprajna is that mahaprajna. So he's using indirect speech while it's actually about himself. So this perhaps shows that these 3 sargas have not been written by Valmiki, but written by some of his Sishya and then kept it here. So that kind of interpretation I have given you already last session. So Chintayansa Mahaprajnaha Chakara Matiman Matim. So this Chakara Matiman Matim is one expression that Valmiki uses often. We can see later in the text. Chakara Matiman. Matiman is one who's intelligent. Okay. So one who's intelligent has decided like this. So Chakara Matiman Matim. Matim here is decision. So this decision he has come to, this intelligent man. Sishyam Chaiva Bravid Vakyam Idam Sa Munipungavaha. And having arrived at some decision, had some conclusion, he says these words to his Sishya. His Sishya is Bharadvaja. We have seen earlier. Sishyam Chaiva Abravid Vakyam Idam Vakyam Abravid Sa Munipungavaha. That great Muni, he says these words to his Sishya. What does he say? पादबद्धोक्षर समस्तंत्रीलय समन्वितः शोकार्तस्य प्रवृत्तो मे श्लोको भवतु नान्यथा. So here he is saying, hey Bharadvaja, I have said something out of shoka for that, out of karuna for that sensitivity for that bird. Something has been said by me. Shokartasya pravritto me, and then out of shoka, out of sensitivity to that bird, something has been said by me, And did you observe how is this? So this is interesting to me. It is Padabadhaha Aksharasamah Tantrilaya Samanvitaha. So he's kind of amazed himself, but at the same time, this what should I say? This chinta is always there in his heart. I mean, so Kimidam Vyahritam Maya also indicates that I am a Muni. I am not supposed to have ragadveshas. I should not be cursing. If you curse, it seems some of your tapas is lost. So munis don't engage in such things. So I am a muni. I should not have cursed. I mean, even that small word born out of sensitivity, he's he's so disturbed that why did I say like this? For this, some Mahatmas give an example. Akhandananda ji also says something like that, and then the Holy Mother also has a nice way of saying that suppose you wear dark clothes and then enter into the field for some work on agriculture field, whatever. So the stains doesn't affect so much on the cloth. But suppose if you are wearing a white cloth and then entering into the field, so even a small stain will affect so much. So Maharaj Shri gives the example of chai. Suppose you are wearing dark clothes, if you put one cup of chai on your clothes also, it doesn't come out. But if you are wearing white clothes, even a drop of chai on that will leave marks. So what does it show? That a person has such Satvika mind as Valmiki, even a small word of, it's actually a statement of fact. If you see, I mean, you did such a cruel task, he said, but then such small word also troubles him a lot. I mean, because his mind is so sattvic that even that small stain he cannot take. Whereas we say all kind of things and then we live life as though everything is all right with us. Anyway, so he's quite worried by what he said. At the same time, he's a little amazed, and then he's and also he's worried that we will see in another way. But then he's telling Bharadwaja, see, this is Padabadhaha. So this fits into a pada of Anushtup meter. Anushtup meter has, so each shloka has 4 padas, 4 quarters, and in Anushtup's case, each pada will have 8 letters. So 8 into 4, 32 letters will be there in an Anushtup meter. So this is Padabadhaha. The words that I have said as though fall into place as padas. The letters fall in place as though they fill with one pada. I mean, they are what should I say? They conform to the Chandas rules. And Akshara Samaha. Akshara Sama again here is the Laghu Guru. So in Kavya Shastra we have this. So a short letter and a short syllable and a long syllable. There are rules for that. I mean, if you're writing or if you're studying Kavyas, you will know, or if you're writing shlokas, you will know these rules. So these Laghu Guru rules are also automatically fulfilled. So these are something that he just said out of his own, I mean, spontaneously he said, but then all these rules are being, what should I say, being satisfied. So Padabadhaha Akshara Samaha Tantri Laya Samanvitaha. Tantri is Veena, so one that has chords. So the only chorded instrument that was there at that time was Veena. So Tantri is Veena. So Tantri, and then Laya is talam, the talam that you can make with your own hands or with drum and things like that. So he says it's rhythmic, it's melodious, and then it's fitting into the rules of chandas, and then it's forming nice pada, and it as though is a Anushtup meter. So like I told you, this was the first humanly uttered, what should I say, verse form, we say. So if Valmiki is the Adi Kavi, and then his own Kavyam, Adi Kavyam is Ramayana. Tatrapi, the first shloka that Valmiki ever uttered was this 15th shloka, Manishada Pratishtham Tvamagama Shashwati Samaha. So he is also amazed. I mean, I said something spontaneously, but it fits into all these rules. Shlokartasya pravrittaha me shloko bhavatu nanyatha. So the shloko bhavatu nanyatha can mean 2 things. He is telling Bharadwaja what has been said by me out of the shloka for that bird and that which fits into the rules of grammar, etc. May this be shloka. So that is one meaning. So may it be a shloka, as in it means to say that does it not sound like a shloka to you, so something like that. But then the more appropriate meaning, both the meanings are given by the Vyakhyakarас, but the more appropriate meaning to me, it sounds like shloko bhavatu nanyatha means, so yashorupo bhavatu. Shlokaha means yashas, so fame. So I have said something as a muni, I should not have said such insensitive words. May it not cause infame for me. So shloko bhavatu means for the sake of yashas, may this lead to my fame and not ill fame. So something like that he's telling. Shloko bhavatu nanyatha. Quick question: is it because of the fact that Valmiki ji has said so about the shloka? Say that the commentators have done Duranvaya. Said so means said what about the shloka? said what about the shloka? I am anticipating what you're trying to say. Maybe speciality in terms of metric. So that's why I said that kind of explanation doesn't fit in. May this be a shloka kind of explanation does not fit in. I will tell you later when we see the subsequent verses. That's why I said to me it appears that the second explanation is more better. The first explanation, shloko bhavatu, may this be a shloka, does not fit in for some reason. I will tell you. We may not be able to cover that in today's class. I don't know, but if it comes, I will tell you. So since this Duranvaya is, I mean, it's not even, what should I say? It doesn't even sound very tasteful, you know. It sounds it appears distasteful to me. Anyway, if you like it, you can take it. That's why I gave you all these meanings. But this Duranvaya is not because he's saying Shloko Bhavatu. May it be a, hopefully it's a shloka and not something else. But the more appropriate meaning here is Shloko Bhavatu is Yashorupo Bhavatu. May it be for my fame and not for my ill fame. And why is he saying that? Because, you know, I have said something insensitive, which as a Muni I am not supposed to have said. Sishyas, I will come to it. I will come to it later. Sishyastu tasya brvato muner vakyam anuttamam. Sishyastu tasya brvato muner vakyam anuttamam. Pratijagraha santushtas tasya tushto bhavan munihi. So Sishya on the other hand, that Sishya, he muner vakyam anuttamam muner vakyam pratijagraha. Tasya brvataha muner vakyam anuttamam pratijagraha. Anuttamam vakyam pratijagraha. So that Sishya, so that Muni said like this. What did he say? He said, "Hey Bharadwaja, may it happen for my fame and may it lead to my fame and not ill fame." In fact, "may it lead to my fame" means, I just remembered, Vyakhyakarас say that means may it not lead to my fame. So that's what he's meaning. Shloko bhavatu means may it not be a shloka for me. So Sishyastu tasya bruvataha, that words. So he who has been he who is speaking thus, those words, this Sishya listens and he holds on to them. Pratijagraha, he listens to them. And what kind of words they are? Muner vakyam anuttamam. So this munehe vakyam, so words of that Muni, anuttamam. Anuttamam does not mean not uttamam. Anuttamam means there is no greater words than this. So that in that sense, anuttamam. Pratijagraha santushtasya pratijagraha santushtaha tasya tushto bhavan munihi. So this santushtaha sishyaha, the Sishya is also happy. Yes, our Guruji has said something today which is padabadhaha, aksharasamaha, tantrilaya samanvitaha. This is something amazing. Even the Sishya is happy. Therefore, he is santushtaha. And then this Sishya is also kind of validating the Guru's expectation that may it be for shloka. You can see that Mahatmas are childlike. So Sishyastu tasya brvato muner vakyam anuttamam pratijagraha santushtas tasya tushto bhavan munihi. So this Sishya also listens to his Guru's words and he is happy. Our Guruji has written something today which falls into the Mahatmas are like children. I will come to that. So he is happy that his Guru has written something, and then this tasya tushto bhavan munihi. For that I am telling that Mahatmas are childlike. Tasya tushto bhavan munihi is by seeing this Sishya's anumodana, in the sense that his Sishya is also happy. That shows that what I have said is not for my ill fame. What I have said is for my fame, as in it is shloka. So Valmiki is happy by this this reaction of Bharadwaja. Valmiki is happy. For that I was giving an example that Mahatmas are childlike. They are especially with worldly affairs. So you know, in Sri Ramakrishna's life also it comes, and I have seen it with some Mahatmas myself. In Sri Ramakrishna's life, you will see that he will say something and then he will come back and tell his Sishyas, you know, that day it happened to me like that, or that day I happened to say like that. Do you think what I did was wrong, or do you think what I said was wrong? And then you can see in Kathamrita and Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, so the author says, I don't think, so I'm just giving an example, I don't know the details, but these kind of conversations you can see. So the author says, I don't think what you said is wrong, what you did is right. So when they say like that, then he will say, oh, okay, if you are saying it, then I will agree. So something like that. They are like that, childlike. So even Valmiki is like that. If the Sishya is saying, no, what you said is not ashloka to shloka only, then Valmiki is happy. Okay, Bharadwaja is telling it. So maybe it's not like that. In fact, Bharadwaja is his Sishya. Valmiki is in a let's say, higher position than the Sishya, but if the Sishya is telling it, he's happy. In fact, if anybody says, no, no, what you said was good, he will be happy because he's childlike in that sense. I hope I was able to convey the beauty of that. Anyway, सोऽभिषेकं ततः कृत्वा तीर्थे तस्मिन् यथा विधि तमेव चिन्तयन्नर्थम् उपावर्तत वै मुनिः. So that is okay, all this happen, and then saha, that rishi, abhishekam tatah kritva. So after all this happens, he does abhishekam. Abhishekam here means snanam, and then the tikakara show that abhishekam is a word for all the madhyana kala, whatever upasaka that he has to show, rishi has to do. So they quote all smritis for that. So you have to take some mud and then clean your body with it and things like that, and then go and do pranava japa and things like that they are saying. So this stands for all that, and that's how we know that this was afternoon time. So abhishekam tatah kritva, having had bath and all the anushtanas having done, where did he do that? Tirthe kritva, and then tasmin tirthe kritva yatha vidhi kritva. So he did it according to whatever is the prescribed rules. Yatha vidhi means vidhim anatikramya, not transgressing the rules, he did these things. So tameva chintayannartham upavartata vai munihi. Upavartata is he went back to the ashram. But how did he go back? That muni upavartata vai nishchayena, he went back, but how was he going back? In his mind, this story, or rather this incident of that bird, Krauncha birds, and then I said these insensitive words, all these thoughts were engaged in his mind. He was still worried. I mean, I said something that I should not have said. Such kind of thoughts are in his mind. Bharadwajas tata sishyo vinita shrutavan guroho kalasham purnamadaya prushthato no jagamaha. Tataha Bharadwajaha, that Shishya Bharadwaja, he a very humble person, Vinitaha, that and with great humility, he also follows the Guru. Shrutavan, this Shrutavan is an Visheshana for Bharadwaja. Shrutavan means Bahushrutaha, one who has learnt so much, one who has studied so much, such a Bharadwaja. But Guru, but then because he's in the presence of his Guru, he is Vinitaha also, he is very humble. With great humility, he also follows Guroho Kalasham Purnamadaya. So remember, so they come with a kalasha, which Valmiki also says, keep the kalasha there, give me the clothes, let us have bath, let me go and have bath. So that kalasha, now that bath is over, they empty the whatever leftover water is there, but then they refill the kalasha with fresh water. So kalasham purnam is filled kalasha adaya, having taken Prushthatonu Jagamaha. He follows the Guru. Prushtataha is from the behind. That means with great humility, Vinitaha, he is following his Guru. Let me just do 2-3 more verses, because Brahmaji will come. Once Brahmaji comes today, then we will end today's session. 3 more verses. In fact, 2. Sapravishyashramapadam Shishyena saha dharmavit upavishtah kathashchanyashchakara dhyanamastitaha. Sapravishyashramapadam. Now he's come back to the ashram. He enters the ashram. Sishyena saha, along with the Sishyas. Now he's back to the ashram. Dharmavit, I mean, he's the knower of dharma. Upavishtaha. Sishyena saha upavishtaha also you can say. He's sitting along with his Sishyas in the ashram. Kathashchanyashchakara. Dhyanamastitha. Dhyanamastitha is he's engaged. So Dhyanamastitha can mean that he's engaged in meditation. But Kathayaschanyashchakara, Kathashchanyashchakara, how can you say? If he's meditating, he should not be talking, you know. So Kathashchanyashchakara means all other things he's talking. But if he's sitting for meditation, he should not do this. That means this goes to show this should be interpreted as, though he is talking externally different things to his Sishyas, with his Sishyas, in his mind he is only thinking of those incidents. So Dhyanamastitaha. Though he is speaking all these things, but the incident or that Nishada coming and hunting and then he saying these words are occupying his thoughts. And then what happens? Lo and behold, Ajagama Tato Brahma Lokakarta Swayam Prabhu Chaturmukho Mahateja Drashtum Tam Munipungavam. So Ajagama Tato Brahma, suddenly from nowhere Brahma comes. So who's this Brahma? Lokakarta. He is the one who created this world. Swayam Prabhu, Swayambhu. Swayambhu means nobody created him. That is the meaning. He created everybody else. That such Brahmaji, Chaturmukha Brahma. Chaturmukha is being said here. Mahateja, he has a great brilliance around him. Drashtum tam Munipungavam. To see that Muni, suddenly Brahma comes out of nowhere. Who comes? Brahmaji, Chaturmukha, Lokakarta, Swayam Prabhu. Chaturmukha, one of the Vyakyakaras nicely explains, and this is well known. Chaturmukha means he is the origin of all the 4 Vedas. That's the idea. Each phase symbolizes one of the 4 Vedas. So in that sense, he is Chaturmukha. not that he has four faces like you see in movies, you know, one here, two here, and one behind. Then the question will come, if Chaturmukha Brahma has Chaturmukha, then how will he sleep? Anyway, either way he sleeps, his one of his face should get suffocated then. So it's not a very possible kind of, what should I say, iconography. I mean, it's not literal. That's what I'm trying to say. Chaturmukha means he's the source for all the four uh, Vedas. So that's the idea. Suddenly Brahma comes, and why am I saying suddenly Brahma comes? Because everybody is shocked, that we will see in the next verses. Everybody is amazed. I mean, where did Brahma suddenly come from, and things like that, which we will see in next session. We will stop here. One thing I'd like to add, that in Valmiki Ramayana, so now you have seen for the first time that the Devata is suddenly coming in between the story. This is one thing that you will see in Valmiki Ramayana, that humans and Devatas are interacting with each other quite frequently. This you will see that human story, as in the story on earth, will be going on, and then suddenly Devatas will come in between the story. So Brahma is the first such Devata entering into the story, but very nicely in the story of Rama itself, Devatas keep coming here and there, more so in Sundarakanda and places like that. So today Brahmaji has entered the story. We will see now what happens later is that significant? Yeah, it shows definitely that it shows that this belonged to a time where Devatas and Manushas were perhaps in constant what should engaging terms with each other. And this Brahma Swayambhu, by the way, the Swayambhu, Swayam Prabhu, he said, but Brahma Swayambhu is also how Mundakopanishad starts, if I remember rightly. Maybe the first mantra or second mantra, first mantra itself. So Brahma Swayambhu, that's how it starts. So these are all Vedic influences that you can see in on Valmiki. So we will stop here, and if you have anything, you can ask me. Any questions you can ask, perhaps. Since I'm not seeing anybody typing, I'm assuming that perhaps you have nothing to ask, so we will end here. यत्र यत्र रघुनाथ कीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्रीरामार्पणमस्तु।